Hi, Dan Thompson here, and we're going to do a quick build from scratch demonstration of IBM BPM version 8.0. I'm going to show you the process designer where we build out a process. We're going to see how to set up some variables and especially how to build coaches and the idea of playbacks. Playbacks are a very quick way of building out a process and seeing what you've built out and testing it. And then we're going to take all that we've built. We'll take a snapshot, which is our version control within IBM BPM. We'll take that and we'll run it out on the process portal. Now, process portal is where your users would interact with processes that we've built out in Process Designer. So then in Process Portal, we'll take a look at the tasks and task management. We'll take a look then at building out ad hoc reports, reports that can show you what's been going on inside the process. And we'll also show you some of the dashboards that you get right out of the box with Process Portal. And then finally, at the last part of the demonstration, I'll go in and show you how to optimize the process, how to run simulations, and build heat maps, and show you which steps have long wait times and some of the ways that you can work around that and help improve your process. We'll finish up with looking at some historical data from what we just ran. We're looking right here at the Process Designer. This is the tooling that a developer might see. And we're just going to build out a quick process app. We'll call it Quick Demo, and we'll give it an acronym. And then we'll just open it in Designer, just like that. Now what we're looking at here, create a process, a business process definition, a BPD. We'll call that Quick Process. And when we come into a quick process, it will give us a swim lane view. Now, I can just pick up a couple of tasks, drop them into the swim lane very quickly. And this is just going to be a simple approval process. So we'll say the first task will be request resource. So it's an employee asking his manager for some additional resource, and his manager is going to then review the request. And those are the two steps, and it's just that simple. So as quickly as we put those in, we're going to wire them up, and then you'll see here. Now, one of the beautiful things about IBM BPM is we have this little run process button, which you can't quite see, it just scrolled off the screen. But when I click on that, it will bring up the process inspector. And I have right here the process. I can step through it. I can say it is owned by the administrator, because that's who I'm logged in as. And as soon as I pop it up, there is a default screen. It just made up a default screen. I can click on done. It's done. I can refresh this, go to the next stage. Remember, we had two steps in that process. Bring them back in as admin. And again, there is my default screen. So what we just saw was IBM BPM throws together really quickly task flows in a swim lane view, and we can immediately do playbacks. We can do playbacks at any point in the process. The next thing I want to show you here is just that we can take a snapshot. So snapshot is like version control, and we're just going to call this the V1 first snapshot. And the neat thing here is I can always get back now. I can always get back to version 1. Now, it was playable. You saw that it was playable. I can actually take that and deploy it out and run it at any point. I can wrap governance around that, of course, but very, very interactive. I can sit down with another user and review what I'm working on. Let's add some swim lanes here because, of course, I've got a manager and I've got an employee. We'll call this swim lane employee, and we'll call this swim lane manager. And we'll move the start of it up here. so that I now have an employee who is requesting the request, and it's going to be processed then by the manager. And I'm going to go in and change just who those people are. I don't want to use all users because that gives me the drop-down list. I can select a group of users. In fact, I can make a new set of users. And we will say this will be all administrators. And in my All Administrator tab, and this will come in handy later on, I will add a user. And you see over here, this is really central to the whole idea of BPM. I can just start typing in if I need to find something. I'm going to add admins. And it finds them. As soon as I start typing into a search box, it finds them. So I've just added, I've made a user group basically of all admins, and that's what we're going to use on this step. And I'll use the same thing here on the second step, just to make it easier for the demonstration. The other thing I want to show you is that I can add variables. So when I'm making a request, I might want to add things like employee name, guy who's making the request. I might want to add the resource I'm asking for. I might want to add the budget amount. I might want to add a due date, required by date. And I might want to add whether it was approved or not by the manager. Now I can go in and actually select different types of things. And remember that fancy way of searching. I can just start typing in Boolean for the approved. I'm going to change the date now to date. And I'm going to change the budget amount to a decimal. And those are my data types: employee, resource type, budget amount, required, and approved, just for this simple diagram. So I've got my flow. What I'm going to do next is, through the activity wizard, I am going to add a user task. And I will use all of the types in the user task except possibly for the Boolean, the approval. That'll have to be done by the manager. So when my employee enters it in, he's going to enter his name, the resource type, a budgeted amount, and a required date. We'll finish there. And while I'm at it, I'm going to add an activity wizard, a new activity type for the manager. And it will be, again, a user type. And he gets to not change any of these. So he gets to not change any of those. He might change the budget amount. He doesn't get to change the required date, and he'll finish that way. So he'll see all the data coming in. He can change two things. That, and I'll just do a quick process there, and I'll take a snapshot of it because this is V2 with data. Now, as long as I'm working in data, I do want to do a couple things here. I want to be able to take and report on some things later on. So I will take my approved, and I will say track this field. That gives me some auto tracking, which I'll show you here in just a minute. I'll take my budget amount, and I will track that as well. And I will take my resource type and track that as well. So I can build some reports on these. And in doing so, I want to update my tracking definitions. And what that just did is it moved those tracking definitions out so I can generate reports on them later on. So now I've got a fully functional. Let's go ahead and run this again. Now I'm in the inspector view. This is my view into the process. I can take the first step. I can execute it. I can say, yes, I'm going to run in an admin role. And there's my employee name, Joe. I want a resource. I want a consultant. I've got a budget amount of $500,000. My required date is today. When we update this, and we'll just hit refresh now, I can run this as the manager, and he sees all the information, and now he can approve it and hit the resource complete button. So that just put together a very quick process, end-to-end process. In the next set of demonstrations, I'm going to show you how to generate reports and some of the things that we can do with this process. Thank you very much. This is Daniel Thompson with a demonstration of IBM BPM version 8.